babe. Should we put a disclaimer right here to let them know about spoilers?
Good idea.
Okay, guys. Spoilers. Stop. Before you continue to view this video, it will be spoilers in between and all out. Whoa.
Are we haters by spoiling the movies?
Nah, they come here for spoilers.
I mean, because y'all ain't actually going to watch the movie. I mean,
yeah.
I hope y'all go watch it.
I hope you watch it too. We ain't just doing this just to review.
But, I mean, we did just review movies. We usually review movies that are like 2 hours. And this is like 20 or 30 minutes.
Yeah,
so
just watch it.
We're like the Cliff Notes of movies.
Ash and Mook, we try to be the new Sisko and Ebert or whatever their names are. What are their names?
Cisco from Drewville?
Anyway, spoilers about to be watched, guys. Be careful. I hope y'all enjoy the review. See you at the end of the video. I'm born ready, shouted. Dang. Hi, y'all. We here.
Wait.
Yeah, that's the opening. You always get the
opening.
She always gets the opening. I wanted to do the opening. How y'all doing? Ignore that part. Cut that part. We are back for another
Suppers.
What'd you say?
Suppers. Like, what's up? Suppers.
You see why I don't like letting her lead, guys? I don't even know what that means.
He's a hater. It means what's up. That's what it means.
But
it'd be great, okay?
She be on too much tactic, y'all. Anywho, I swear we got stuff to talk about tonight. Baby, you gonna kick it off again, or you want me to kick it off?
I can kick it off.
Kick it off.
Because this video is more so about the ladies.
Hey.
Hold on, you got a little too excited now.
Sorry, my bad.
Anyway.
Go ahead, baby.
This evening, we are bringing you all reviews.
Sorry, we recorded. Sorry, go ahead.
You good?
Would you go? Go.
Okay. So this evening, we are bringing you reviews that were recommendations. Shout out to our viewers.
Come on.
Our followers.
Come on.
Our subscribers.
Come on.
They liked. They followed.
You better believe it.
They shared.
I promise they do.
And they commented, boy.
All love. All love. And you want to know who we're talking about? Do you want to know?
They pretty dope. I'm just saying.
They dope. I grew up with them my whole life, you know. They pretty good people.
I grew up with them for like the past year.
That's fair.
Almost two
It's
years.
been a strong year though. Okay.
Almost 2.
Right. Get your mouth together, Louis. You heard that, y'all? She's trying to put us back.
I had to make sure he knew, ladies. You know, they be trying to shave off that time. You know, the anniversary's coming up.
Fellas, I think that's a cop-out. I think they really forget sometimes, so they want to test us because men are known.
So anyway, about the movies. So the recommenders. You gotta talk about those.
So yeah, the recommenders. Is that a word? The recommenders that recommended these 2 movies that we are about to review is it's a little biased. One is my oldest sister, Nakia. Shout out. We're gonna do the movie.
Shout out to Goddess Girl.
That's the beautiful queen. I hope you remember what movie you suggested. It was a few weeks ago. It was on our first video, but we're gonna leave that for a surprise. But we're gonna review the movie that you suggested, and we got another beautiful goddess that suggested a movie for us. My oldest cousin, Akeisha. She suggested a movie as well, just as like my big sister.
Do you love me?
I don't think you can say that. We may get copywritten because she just.
The way you talk about my tone, they ain't gonna recognize it anyway. I'll be hating. So okay, so back to the whole point of this review.
We are back.
The first movie we are reviewing, is it a movie or a documentary?
Nope, it's a movie. It's a movie.
The movie
semi-autobiographical.
We'll go with that.
Yeah, something like that.
Sounds right.
Google it.
The first movie is the United States versus the one, the only, Billie Holiday.
Billie Holiday. Guys, I'm gonna be honest with you. I didn't know too much about Billie Holiday. Literally the only thing I knew about her is Billie Holiday wasn't a man, it was a woman. And you want to know my first time hearing the reference of Billie Holiday? Oh, joy to
Joy to the World.
Did you get that reference? Christmas Vacation. Did anybody get that? Anyway, the first time I heard about Billie Holiday was from this movie called Clueless. Don't ask why I've seen this movie. I used to watch this movie a lot growing up. Wow, y'all learning a lot about me today, aren't you?
He's got a lot of sisters.
Anyway, yes, and female cousins. They mentioned her in the movie, and in the movie, the character said she thought it was a man, and I did too until I found out it was a woman. So that showed you my extent knowledge of Billie Holiday. Baby, did you know about Billie?
So, in watching this movie, I feel like I've watched another movie about her.
Okay.
Because it was some years ago, and this movie just came out in like 2020, I think.
Right.
And
it's
so
a new booty.
I recognized the story. I honestly, when your sister first recommended it, I keep wanting to call her by her nickname, and I don't know if her nickname is what she wants out in the streets.
You gotta be family privileged to know that. You know what I'm saying?
So, when she referenced the movie, I thought it was about a man, and so I wasn't sure what it was about either. And then as I was watching it, I was like, oh yeah, I remember this. I know her. I'm horrible with names though, so. And
now that I mentioned it, I lied at the beginning. I knew of her because, like I told you in the last video, I am big in hip hop, and a few of my rappers have sampled one of her most notorious and most infamous and famous known song. We're gonna get into that because this movie literally centered around this song, and I'm like, what is the big deal? Because I knew of the song, but I didn't know the meaning of it. But we're gonna get to that. guys.
We might as well get into the movie.
We're gonna get right into it. We're gonna jump into it. We're gonna jump into the deep end. Okay, let's do this.
Billie Holiday was played by a young lady named Andra Day.
Yep.
I believe that's how you pronounce the name. I could definitely be wrong.
You wanna be our first.
Ironic because her tour bus in the movie said Lady Day.
I think that was Billie Holiday's nickname, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. We should have researched this guy.
But ultimately, this movie it took place back in
1940-ish. It's the 30s and the 40s. That was the time frame, it seemed like. So you already know how the country was, as far as racism goes, and especially against women. So
yeah,
she had 3 strikes against her already. So
ultimately, Billie Holiday was a very popular singer. She performed in taverns and nightclubs and things of that nature, lounges, places like that. Yeah, nightclubs, I think of like, not this scene, but anyway, right. Very elegant,
For sure.
People paid top dollar, white people were paying top dollar to come and watch her sing. She performed a song called
Strange Fruit.
Strange Fruit.
If you've never heard that song, you may have heard a sample and didn't even know it. But listen to that song and listen to the lyrics. The lyrics are real. It was real. Strange fruit hanging from the tree. It talks about the hanging of black people, specifically in the South. That was a strange fruit. And it's just a metaphor, blood on the leaves. Come on now. So if you listen to that song and you tie it into the movie and you understand why they didn't want her to perform that song anywhere, it was basically
not having it.
Blacklisted. Exactly. Remember when we did the Judas and the Black Messiah? Guess who was involved with that? The FBI. Guess who was involved with Lady Day? The FBI. So they didn't want her. They was on her. They took away her license. Apparently you have to have a license back then to sing in those bars and lounges and things like that. They took that away, so they messing with her livelihood. They got people that was try to get people close to her.
Let's backtrack a little bit because the fact that they just went to this extreme, I feel like our watchers, our viewers need a little bit more background to understand why. Like, we talked about strange fruit and we talked about what it meant, but let's put it in perspective from the government versus the people. And when I say the people, I mean the white people and the black people, because it's 2 different viewpoints. So, can you break that down? Okay, I'll break it down. So,
I'm like, you came up with the thought. I didn't know you was going there. Don't throw it on me. I was in the flow.
Catching it.
I was in the flow. Jerk.
So, the song, as Mook was saying, is identifying, what the reality of what's happening. And what it
Right.
really did was made white people look in the mirror at themselves and
So
see the ugly
uncomfortable.
truth about themselves.
So uncomfortable.
And it really made them identify that these people hanging in the trees were human.
Facts.
And that the government was trying to spin it and make it seem like Billie was inciting riots by performing this song.
Exactly.
And so it got to the point where she would be at concerts, basically. I don't remember exactly what the situation was, but it was like a nice little lounge or something where people were paying top dollar. It was packed out.
Good money.
Black people and white people mixed together. This was like one of the first of its kind.
Yeah, she wanted it that way.
It was her idea.
Separate. She didn't want no segregation. She wanted them mixed in, blended.
And brought everybody together.
Sorry.
Brought everybody together. And, her manager was telling her, don't do the song. Her manager was also in cahoots with the FBI, though. But
White man.
Of course. I'm not going to keep saying message, but anyway. And so it got to the point where Billie would go on stage and she would be battling with herself on whether she should perform this song or not perform this song.
Right.
In one instance, she was on stage at this huge event, sold out. Immediately, she went to sing the song and police just bombarded the stage. They immediately, it was crazy. They were coming from every angle. Off stage, behind stage, in front of the stage.
Probably under the stage. It kind of reminded me of the scene from Straight Outta Compton when they did F the Police.
Yep.
After they told them not to. It's funny how all these movies are tying together, guys. Pay attention. This stuff isn't a coincidence. It's not a coincidence. It's not a coincidence. This is all done on purpose.
Exactly.
And they don't want to spread the awareness. So I guess she was making a woke song back then that wasn't hip, Like, they had the whole government force after this one lady for one song. Like, that shows you the power that she had, And they were scared.
Yep.
So they sent people in, just like they did on Judas versus the Black Messiah. They sent somebody in to try to get stuff on her, get some dirt on her, and to take her down.
Jimmy Fletcher played the role. Well, Jimmy Fletcher was the character.
Right.
He was played by, what's the gentleman's name? Trevante Rhodes, I believe.
Trevante Rhodes, I believe. Yep.
And so he actually was an FBI agent. His sole purpose of being around Billie was to, what's the word I'm looking for? We just talked about it in the previous review. Infiltrate?
Yeah, infiltrate. I like it because that's essentially what he did. He was a star. I call him con man.
Yeah.
He worked for the government, but confident, that's what they do. They gain your trust. They gain your confidence, in them. So that way they have all access to you, and you let down your guards around them, so you could be yourself around them, so you think. And from that point on, they're like, got you.
Yeah, and Billie suffered from a lot of damage.
That's what I wanted to talk about, because that's a real good topic. Before we get, because we don't have to dig into the dirt.
Yeah.
Let's just get on this. Cause this part right here is what brings on the men that she attract. The drugs, the alcoholism, the going, all that stuff is attracted by this. From a female standpoint, what was your take on her behavior and what she allowed?
There's so much to delve into. First of all, her foundation in life was growing up in a brothel. And so her mother, I don't know if she ran this place or if she was just like the HBIC, I don't know, but she literally, it showed a scene of her childhood, and Billie was in this home. I think she was maybe 8 years old.
8, 10, something like that.
Something between 8 and 11, I'd say. And her mom basically came to her and was like, look, you're taking up space. It's time for you to learn how to make money.
Those are literally the words that the mother told this between 8 and 11-year-old girl.
Can you imagine?
That she was basically telling like, hey, you either get out or you get in on the family business, basically.
Yep. Get out or get down.
This is a child, fam.
And she was training her or ultimately telling her, you need to be able to please these men and make this money.
Yep.
And so if you can imagine, just to my ladies, you know, just imagine the type of men that are coming through these places, you know, these whorehouses, literally coming through drugged up, liquored up, you know, nobody's sober, probably cheating on their woman at home, you know, coming in just to get their rocks off and leave. So obviously there's no type of respect. There's no type of boundary. There's no type of, the women's ultimate mission was to please them enough to make money, please the men enough to make money. If you're trying to make money, you're ultimately going to do whatever it is that man wants you to do. Right. And so this was Billie's example. You know, this is how every woman that was around her was somebody who was prostituting herself. And so this is what formed Billie's idea of a woman. And then
what love is.
Exactly, and the experiences of men and how to interact with them, and oh my God.
And you just imagine with that type of environment there and what's going on, and knowing the men that come in there, they probably think nothing is off limits.
Yep.
So you got all that going on, and you got a little girl there with all them grown men. I'm not going to expound on that, but just use your imagination. So that's another reason that ties into how Billie grew up to be. You know, she accepted the worst of the worst. It got to a point, I know I'm skipping ahead, but it got to a point to where when she got to something stable and healthy, it scared her. And she felt like she wasn't in control. And from a man's standpoint, I didn't know what she meant by that. So I had to ask Ashes, what did she mean by that? Like she didn't feel like she was in control. She had a great thing going on. She had a great man. Career was booming. He respected her. He loved her. He cherished this woman.
Yeah.
But it didn't feel right. She felt uncomfortable.
She left this man to go back to a man that had abused her in the past, taken advantage of her, used her, you know, and she literally said those words to him, like to the young man that she was with, to Jimmy. That's who she ultimately ended up being with. She said that to him, like she called this other, her ex, she called him. They were, I don't know if they were broken down or what it was, but they were somewhere, you know, but they were enjoying themselves, and her crew and Jimmy, you know, and they were sitting there one day and she was smoking a cigarette, and all of a sudden this man pulls up and blows a horn like, yo, we got to go. We got a flight to catch. And Jimmy's looking at her like, wait, what?
So this is what we
completely blindsided him. And Billie just like looked at him and was like, you know, I'm sorry, but you deserve a good girl, and I'm not a good girl.
And that right there, that told me everything I need to know about it. Like, we've seen it from the jump. I felt sorry for her until you notice that she stayed in these same relationship after relationship. And all these men, all they were doing was take advantage of her. They set her up. Everyone from her husband to the middle dude, he set her up. You know, ironically, Jimmy set her up too in the beginning. He was another one that gained her confidence.
He was an agent.
And yeah, he was a federal agent. He went in there and did what he was supposed to do.
But it was one of those love stories where he ended up falling in love.
Yeah, I knew it was something different with him because it didn't sit right with him after she went to jail. I don't know. He struggled, you know.
Yeah. And
they kept him on the case when she got out, and he went on tour with her. You know, he literally went on tour with her. Like, they was on a bus and he was in the car.
Following.
And he just followed. I was like, okay.
But that scene really spoke a lot. And when he asked me, you know, what she meant, we literally had to pause the movie and I had to break it down. Like, look, you know, I've been in that situation where you're used to toxic. You're used to this certain behavior. And when you get with somebody who is not toxic, somebody who is caring, somebody who's responsible, just the complete opposite of what you're used to, it can be scary if you're not healed. It can be scary because now you don't know what to expect. You grew up or you've been trained in a way to handle men a certain way. And by men, I'm referring to the same type of man. No matter who you mess with, it's the same type of man. All these men are the same because that's what your energy is attracting. And so somehow or another, you attracted this good dude who is not broken, who is not in need of healing, and you're not quite healed enough to really realize that this is where you need to be.
Right.
And that's scary because how am I supposed to please you?
Exactly.
You know,
exactly.
So
and I couldn't understand that from a male perspective. Like, what do you mean you're not in control? Like, you got a good thing going on, but it's like she was. I won't say nervous, but the way she was acting in the healthy relationship is how she should have been acting in the toxic one.
Yeah.
But the toxic one, she loved that boy. I don't know. I guess with the healthy one, she didn't have enough public fights, no physical fights, no verbal verbal putting down, so nothing. But if you get to know that part about her, you'll understand a lot of the movie. Yeah. A lot of the movie. And
so it's a deeper,
much deeper part to it. It's much deeper than that.
But it's crazy how it's just crazy to me because ultimately their way in, the FBI's way in to stop Billie Holiday, because they couldn't stop her. Nope. You know, their only way in was because she was a drug abuser.
Yep, they used that on her a lot. They planted a lot of drugs. Some drugs they planted. Yes. Some drugs they really didn't have to. They just got the intel to know that the drugs was there and it was in her possession.
Anything to take her down.
Yep. I'm trying to see. She went to jail and she got out. I was feeling good. You know, she had stopped doing that stuff, the heroin. She had stopped smoking cigarettes. She was exercising more. She looked good. You know, she picked up a little weight. I had hope for her, you know. But that first night back on stage, all them jitters came, them nerves came. She probably haven't felt that since she was a rookie, a new artist. Yeah. Because she was high every show, you know, off something. So she had something to cope the nerves and the anxiousness and the anxiety. But this time she didn't have that, so she resorted back to her old habits.
Yep.
You know, and
that just led to trouble.
Yep. So
because these agents were still after her.
They were still after her. So when they couldn't stop her, they took her license.
Yep.
We're gonna get back to that. I know I said it earlier, but they took her license so she could only perform at this one place. And what was his name? Lester, which was played by none other than Tyler Williams.
Everybody hates Chris.
Everybody hates Chris. Y'all may know him. And some of my TWD
He's grown
fans,
now, y'all.
Yes, I know him. He was on Walking Dead for a season or two or something like that. But anyway, he was on there, and he ended up getting a connection with this club owner, this black man, of course, to get Billie to sing there. You know, to get paid. Of course, he was screwing her, literally and figuratively, out her money.
Not everybody hates Chris.
No,
the club
owner. Yeah. The club owner. And you get that right off the jump. The first show, you knew what type of situation that was. And she accepted it because she into that kind of stuff, you know?
Smacked her behind when she walked away. And she just kept walking.
That set the tone.
Yeah.
And from that point, he knew how far he could go with her.
Yeah.
He could pretty much take it as far as he wanted. She didn't react to that. She didn't turn around, stop! She didn't look at him. She just kept walking. Because that's the kind of treatment she was used to. That wasn't out the ordinary. That was probably mild compared to what she usually get. You know, and he beat her, of course. He beat her bad. He beat her like a man. It wasn't an Ike beat, but it probably got to that point. They just didn't show it.
I think the funny part is, you know, we just got through we've watched all these movies that talk about the moles within the police department or the FBI or, you know what I'm saying, the legal counsel.
Right. And
it just continues. Like it seems to be in so many movies. And in reality,
yes,
but
yep. And this isn't done on purpose. It just happened to be the movies that we're selecting. Corruption, the government, racism, everything. Those are the three main themes over the last 2-3 reviews we did. That's somewhere in there.
I thought you were about to say 2 or 3 years. I was gonna say no. It's been longer than that.
Come on now.
I know you know.
No said. So anyway, that's gonna roll us on over until our next review. Hold up. Pause. So the movie, because I know that's the one thing we haven't talked about. Baby, where can we find the movie? Where can you stream the movie? That's what I
movie was about. On Hulu.
Hulu? Okay.
If you have a broken Fire Stick, you know what I'm saying, you might be able to find it on there, but
we're not promoting that. You know, just subscribe to Hulu and get it. It's a real good movie. It's worth it. It's about 2 hours long or something like that. Another 2-hour movie, but you won't really notice it because it keeps you going. It keeps you going. It's a real good movie, and I watched it for educational purposes because I just knew she was a black singer back in the 30s and 40s, so I knew it was going to be controversy already. And if black men had it hard, black women had it twice as hard back then. So I was looking for educational purposes, and I won't say nothing shocked me. You know, I figured all that happened. You know, it's just to hear it and to see it. It's a different thing. So it's a real good movie. I would do it for educational piece. I'll be careful watching it with kids because they got some explicit scenes in there. So be careful, you know. But other than that, it's a real good movie. I will vouch for it. I definitely vouch for it.
What would you rate it at?
That movie, I would give it. I guess my disclaimer is I don't really have a lot of critiques on it. Because I didn't know too much about her. And full disclosure, I didn't do any research afterwards to see what was real and what was fake. But I guess given those points, I'll give it a 9 out of 10. I'll give it a 9 out of 10. And the reason why I give it a 9 out of 10 is because it was a good movie. Would I watch it again? Probably not. But I don't think it's one of the movies that you will watch multiple times either. Some scenes did lose me, like the one scene where I still don't know if this was a dream when she went into the woods or the weeds and she seen the man hanging in the tree. I don't know if that was symbolic to the song or that happened.
It almost felt like that was a flashback, but it was hard to tell if it was. It
was very, and that's not fair to take away from it, but it did lose you because sometimes you got to realize with movies, with directors, you're going into their brain, you know, and it's up to the director to appeal to the audience as much as possible. And he kind of lost me on that, so that's why I give it the knock at. Give it the 9. What would you give it, Ashes?
I think I would I agree that I don't have a lot of criticism. I agree that it's not something that I will go back and probably watch again or rewatch regularly. Right. I think a lot of that stems from it coming from a hard place. It's hard to watch women who you can tell are broken and just kind of struggle through this, you know? Right. So those types of situations I try to stay away from. But I think that's the reason it kind of leaves, I wouldn't say a negative taste in my mouth, but it does take away from my point value system, I guess. Right. So I think at the end of the day, I'd probably give it an 8.5.
8.5? That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
Would you recommend for people to watch it?
I would recommend. I would recommend for people to watch it. I think that again, it's part of history. You know, Billie Holiday is somebody that we've all heard of. At some point, whether it was a song or even if you didn't realize that you know of her, you know of her. And so I think that the fact that it's rooted in our history and comes from a time that's so trivial in the foundation of our country, I think it's important to watch.
Yep. So one of the things three things you could take from the movie is, three of the things you could take from the movie is racism, the government, corruption.
The government and corruption. It keeps coming back up.
Yep. So that leads us to our next review. It's a perfect segue. We didn't plan it like this. Sometimes things just fall in your lap. Now, this next movie, who recommended this movie?
And this movie was recommended by none other than your cousin.
Yep.
My girl.
Keisha McMillan / Ruffin.
Hey, girl.
What's up, cousin?
What's up, Kev? I know you watching too. I hope you watching.
Yes, Kev.
You ain't subscribed yet, but it's
right.
Cool.
We see you, cousin. You got to subscribe now. So this movie, it's a real good movie. I remember I tried to watch this movie, me and Ashes, last year, but I couldn't find the Blu-ray because it hadn't been released on DVD or Blu-ray. So I kind of forgot about it, you know, and it just kind of passed by. So it was recommended from our first video. You go back and watch that video now if you haven't seen it. After this video, you go back and watch the first video. It's first number one. And after Akeisha recommended it, I forgot about it. So we pulled it up and we started watching it. Baby, What's the name of this movie?
The movie is called Body Cam.
Body Cam.
Starring none other than your girl, Mary J. Blige.
Yes, Lord.
Auntie Mary.
That's her name?
And people be hating on her acting, but I don't think that she did a bad job.
She didn't. Hey, she's an Oscar-nominated actress, so
you know,
she's doing something right. Hello.
Talk about this movie, baby, because you pointed out what it was categorized at. It threw me off guard because I've never heard of a movie being categorized in this manner.
Yeah, this was the genre that was put in was horror, thriller, and what was?
Horror, thriller,
mystery. You guys, when I read that, my heart got warmed a little bit and started ticking. I got a little happy. Because one thing you're going to learn, guys, I love movies, but my favorite genre is horror. I love it. I can't wait to Halloween. Guys, Halloween, I'm going to be so entertaining. Like, I'm going to geek out. Like, there's going to be some stuff going on, guys. So get ready. Get ready for the fall. But anyway, it fit in those categories. So I'm like, this is a lot of genre bending together. You know, I'm going to see how can they make this work?
I honestly went into this movie not expecting much because in my mind, there's no way that you can tie all three of these genres together and have a decent project. But I liked it.
Fair.
You want to break it down?
So this movie, it takes place in Louisiana. I think the place is called Swin, Louisiana. I want to say Swin, Louisiana.
Swin sounds right, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if it's a fictional place or real place, but it takes place in Louisiana. And Mary J. Blige, she's on the police force. And this is her first time back, I think after 8 months off. She was on leave because her son tragically died in a swimming pool accident. He drowned in their neighbor's swimming pool. So they hit her kind of hard, of course. That was her only child. So she get back on the force.
It's not a real place.
It's not a real place? I figured they have a lot of fictional places, especially in the South. And so she's back on the force her first day, and she gets in an altercation. And with the altercation is with, I don't know if the guy was drunk or just dumb and belligerent, but it was a black guy. They didn't go into details, but you can tell it was a black guy because whoever this perp was, they were questioning her blackness because she was a cop. I hope y'all remember our review from Black and Blue. Similar premises. Even filmed in Louisiana and the similar location, but we'll get back to that later. So anyway, she goes off and she smacks or punches the dude.
She punched him in the face.
She punched him in the face. Meanwhile, everything is on her body cam, so they got the whole thing recorded, and they bring her in, and I think they suggested her to continue her lead because emotionally she's not stable yet, but she's like, no, I need to be out because I need to have my mind occupied on certain things. So you know how they go, and they stick her with a rookie.
So the movie starts off with a really weird scene. It was one of her fellow police officers, a friend of hers, is called out to, he's actually not called out anywhere. He's driving down the street, it's raining real hard. He notices a van driving. I don't know if the van was speeding or what caught his attention.
Had no license plates.
So my question is, did he notice that the car didn't, the van was going this way, the police car was going this way. So initially you can't, and he was on his cell phone. It's raining super hard. My question immediately was, why did you pull this van over? Were they speeding? They didn't run a red light because there were no red lights. So initially I was already taken aback because I've been in those situations, you know, where I've been pulled over because of profiling.
But you gotta admit, that was a
conversation for another video.
That was a little suspect. They was coming from a dark area, like an alley or something. The lights hardly wasn't on the van. The windows was like spray painted, tinted or something like that. They're driving slow. Then on top of that, they don't have a license plates.
Right.
So it's like, oh, they kind of just,
I get that,
went together on it.
But
you know,
to
bad
me,
neighborhood, you know.
To me,
I'm
that's
not justifying. I'm just trying to give the plot a little fat in it, you know, to see that maybe that's where they was coming from. You never know. You know?
I immediately was like, what is he on to try to make sure I'm not cussing. I was like, what is he on? Because He hung up with his wife or his girl, whoever he was talking to, and got behind the van. And that's when he realized that the van didn't have plates, in my opinion. That's when he realized it. He called it in, pulled the van over, got out of the van, walked up to it and asked the lady to step out or to roll the window down, show her hands. And she was scared. Like, she was looking forward. She wouldn't look at him. So he starts looking in the van, and he sees a piece of material or cloth or something with, I think, blood on it. And then that caused him to pull his weapon. So he draws his gun. He's screaming at the lady, telling her to step out of the van. She finally gets out of the van. And then all of a sudden, he's like dragged into the sky. And you don't know who did what, how this could have happened. And then all of a sudden, his body falls onto the car. And it's like, what just happened?
I guess that's where the horror part come in at. Because when they snatched him up, it was from a POV. So it's like you could just see his hands and legs dangling in the air. So you don't know what has him or anything like that. And then the scene cuts. And
my brain immediately went back to the Paranormal Activity movies.
Of course.
But yeah, so then it showed that. And then it like backtracked. And that's kind of where Mary, aka Renee, got involved, and she was called out to a scene, and she didn't realize that it was this police officer, but she was called out to the scene, and her and this rookie partner, they pull up and they recognize whose vehicle it is. Well, they heard the code over the speaker. They pulled up. They knew whose vehicle it was. They got out. At this point, there's nobody around, no van, no nothing. So she gets in the cruiser and starts trying to review the footage. And that's when she sees the van. She sees the lady get out of the van. She notices that the lady's wearing scrubs and it has like a cross on the pants leg or something. And but this footage keeps going in and out. And so it's not something when the rest of the investigators get on scene, they aren't able to see any footage. They can't see a thing. And so now it's like, you put your foot in your mouth, girl, because you know that you broke protocol by going, like you contaminated the crime scene.
That kind of adds into them saying that she got back on the field too soon. Yeah. She's not thinking clearly. You know, she's still traumatized. She's still going through a lot of mental stress, emotional stress. So that wasn't helping her defense at all. You know, and I knew something was up when she initially sat down and tried to get the computer to play back. She yelled for her partner. Now, prior to that, she told her partner to go check another area to see can she find the missing cop. So she yelled his name, but I guess he was too far up the street so he couldn't hear her. So I was like, if she's the only one that's seeing this footage, then this is not going to be helpful. Yeah. You know, because I'm like, at this point, it's a crime scene, so why is she all in there? You know, because she's not thinking straight. If she was in her right mind, then she would have known to just stay back and wait for her backup to get there. So she seen the video. It was real fuzzy. It was the dash cam video. Real fuzzy, real staticky. You couldn't see nothing too much, but you seen something. You know, and then in the video, they showed him being taken up. And mind you, that was the last thing we seen before they cut the scene to 12 hours prior. And then after they showed him being taken up, they showed him dropping down. They didn't show him the first drop, but the car like moved. Yeah. So he had to throw the ghost had to throw him against the car, and then I guess he picked it back up and slammed him on the hood of the car. And guess what happens on that part? His teeth fall out because he like falls like head first, like back up off of the hood.
That's a message. Take note.
Yes.
Because what ends up happening is they, her and her partner end up getting sent home for the night, you know. And when she gets home, she tries to go to sleep. She ends up having a nightmare about her son, whom she lost. She gets up in the middle of the night, and now she's looking through, I don't remember if it was pictures or I think it was pictures. She was looking through a photo album of some sort, and she was looking at pictures of her baby when he was first born. And she recognized in one of the pictures a cross that she recognized from the scrubs that the lady in the van was wearing. So now she's piecing this together, and she's like, wait, this lady had to have worked at this hospital because this is the same cross. So now she's on a mission to find out who it was that killed her partner, or not her partner, but her friend.
Exactly.
And she knows that somehow it's connected to her son because she was wearing the scrubs from the hospital he was born at.
Yep.
So this just opens up a whole nother can of worms.
So mind you, she still got this young rookie on her team. You know, this young wet behind the ears rookie still going on. And he's following her through all these adventures of doing all these B&Es basically that she's not supposed to be doing. She ain't got no warrant. She all in these people's houses. She following her own leads. You know, she's not letting no one in on nothing.
Backtrack on these people's houses. Elaborate on that. Okay, I'll talk about it. So
cool. Thank you.
So she was on some super like, I need to figure out who this girl is, stalking my dude type stuff. You know, like how we do on Facebook and whatnot. She ended up going through the directory of this hospital to look for, because in the video she kind of caught a glimpse of what the lady looked like. She knew she was a younger black woman, and you know, so she went through the directory for younger black women. And mind you, this is in the South. So there was one specific young black woman who stood out. Her name was Tanisha Brands. Tanisha Brands. So now she has a name, right, ladies? Exactly. So now she has a name. So she starts researching to figure out who is Tanisha Brands.
Right.
She immediately finds newspaper articles about how Tanisha Brands' son was tragically killed. The story was that he was gunned down. It was like a gang initiation, gunned down in the middle of a field. Exactly. So the footage, we'll come back to that part. So now she has an understanding and kind of can relate to this woman because she lost her son, and Renee had also lost her son. So now it's kind of like, connection. Exactly. It puts a little bit of a different spin on it. So now she tries to find out where she lives to go talk to her. All off record, mind you. So this is where she comes to the house and then starts doing stuff she probably shouldn't have been doing.
Yeah, she was doing some suspect, pun intended. Y'all gonna get this pun. You getting that pun. And if you see the house, it's in Louisiana, so it's like one of them old plantation / voodoo houses that got like the red brick clay in front of the door. It's like one of those houses, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. If you've seen Skeleton Key, you know what I'm talking about. So it looks spooky from the jump. So you can tell she was on a mission because she wasn't thinking right. I wouldn't have walked in there strapped and all, you know what I'm saying?
I probably would have waited until daylight.
For shizzle, you know? But so they went in there. Of course, they couldn't get in through the front, so they went around the side to go to the back. And the window was open. Did you notice that?
I did.
The side window was open. That's a message in itself, you know?
Yeah. Because the house looked completely abandoned. It looked like nobody lived there. The mail was piled up on the front porch. No lights, no nothing. It was just forgotten. It was a forgotten piece of land. So they go to the back. And of course, did they break in or did they open the door? Or was it already open? I feel like the door was already open.
I feel like it was open too. And that's a message. Mm-hmm. Message.
So they start walking through the house, and it does look abandoned. You know, there's stuff that's just sitting out, and it doesn't look like anybody lives there.
Right.
But there's one specific scene that kind of looks like it really feeds into the hoodoo voodoo feeling. It's almost like a shrine. You know, it's all these pictures of her son, and it's kind of like hanging from something, and then like almost like it looks like she might have been dabbling to bring her son back.
And that right there, my friends, I think that's when we cracked the code. That did like a shrine. This is New Orleans. They work with that kind of stuff, you know. And I keep bringing up Skeleton Key because Skeleton Key took place in Louisiana. And if you know the plot twist in that's exactly what I thought this was. You know, I said it. I was like, oh, okay. I think she brought her spirit back of the son. The son brought the spirit back. And the way the son died, it was a vengeful spirit. The spirit wasn't at rest.
Yeah.
We learned that from Ghost Brothers. We know what that means now.
Shout out to Ghost Brothers.
Goes out to Ghost Brothers. That's another show, y'all. Anyway, we ain't about that right now. So, yes, so we put it together. We was like, we think she brought her son back. She did some kind of ritual or some kind of seance, and she done brought her son back. But the son is back out for revenge.
we was on it.
We was on it. I hate to blow out, toot our own horn, guys, but we cracked that like 20-25 minutes into the movie. We cracked the code. You know, I'm not even front.
And I mean, not to be a spoiler, but.
And that's not even nothing against the movie in itself. Yeah. Like, it still didn't take away from the movie because we knew what was going on, but we still didn't know until it revealed itself.
I think in that moment we kind of like suspected. We're like, okay, it has something to do with her son's spirit being uneasy or not being at rest. Mm-hmm. And so now we're kind of like watching to try to figure out like more pieces to confirm our theory, right? Thanks. So then it goes to another scene and it shows that a couple of her fellow co-workers or fellow police officers were riding through the city and they noticed the van that they heard mentioned. And so they pull up, the van is parked at like this local market. Right. At night, you know, nobody's really there. A couple of guys inside, literally like some thugs harassing the man, going through, knocking stuff off the shelf. They see the woman in there. Tanisha's inside the store. She looks homeless. She's got this huge coat on, covering her face, you know, wearing these scrubs. She looks like she might not smell too fresh. You know, she looks homeless. It's so you can tell when people stink. Anyway, so one of the guys is harassing the clerk that's working, while the other guy's knocking stuff off the shelf and recording Tanisha. Just being
an a-hole.
Exactly.
I was like, oh God, here we go. I'm like, y'all better stay away from her. I'm like, they gonna mess with her. Yep. And if what we thought was going on, it's not gonna end well for Buddy and his friend there.
And we was right. And it didn't end well for the police that noticed the van either, because they walked inside the store, they pulled up, they walked inside the store to ask who the van belonged to, because they didn't know, you know, if it was a woman driving, a man driving, all they knew was the van. Yep. But as soon as they walked in, we noticed that the lights started flickering and the camera. You know how security, like local stores will have like the what do they call that? CCTV. It started flickering, you know. Yep. And so immediately I was like, baby, that's we know what that means.
Yep. Whenever it's an electricity interference, that means it's a spirit, something supernatural is in your presence.
Yep.
So it's probably too late. At that point, it's too late. You got.
It was too late. You know what I'm saying?
You can do that.
Now, sure enough, the same type of mysterious attack that happened on the first police officer is now happening to both of the young men and to both of the police officers. And so, ironically, Renee and her partner end up being called out.
On the scene.
First on the scene.
Per usual.
And so she goes inside and she's, you know, looking around at what's happening and she sees the bodies just didn't quite look right. And, you know, one of the victims, the guy who was recording Tanisha by this point is long gone. She's gone. The van's gone. And so the guy's cell phone is on the ground. So Renee picked it up and cuffed it. You know what I'm saying? She put it to the side so she can
once again
do her own research.
Contaminating the scene, doing something she's not supposed to do. At this point, whether she get proof or not, who's gonna believe her?
And the same lady who was on the first crime scene, who told Renee that she was basically messing up the church's money.
She's like, hey, what we doing here? What you doing?
She came back to this crime scene and again looked at Renee like, hey.
She looked right at her like, I felt accused. Excuse me. Man.
So, so now at this point, Renee knows that she's on her own, you know, because they basically tell her, you know, it looks like robbery gone wrong. Yep. You know, the clerk shot in the chest. He didn't make it. Everybody's dead. Robbery gone wrong. Mm-hmm. And they called it a night.
Yep, they did. And kind of go back into the convenience store. So remember earlier when we talked about that when Renee and her partner first found the other cop's car and Renee got on the computer to try to play back the video? She did the same thing at this convenience store. She went to the security footage and played it and touching it and played it. And of course, it only played for her. And so she put it together. She was like, hey, this kind of like the same thing that happened at the squad car. Same thing happened here. Yep. It got to be a connection. So that just lit more fire up under her, you know. But once again, who can she tell? You know what I'm saying? The partner, he there, but he halfway there.
Because she mentioned to her partner that she had the cell phone.
Yep.
And he was like,
flipped.
yo.
He was like, yeah.
I can't do this.
I don't want nothing to do with this. Like, whoa.
You already dragged me to this abandoned house.
Right.
It was flying roaches in there that flew at him.
I forgot about that part.
I don't blame him. I would, if some flying bugs come at me, I don't care if it's a roach or a fly. I'm out.
He was tripping. I ain't gonna hold you. Him, I suspected him of something. I ain't getting there to that point yet, but I thought he was little more than what he was. But that's a little bit. It's a couple minutes down the line.
Yeah.
So they got done with the convenience store thing.
So then at this point they're still trying to piece everything together. Renee is high on this Tanisha Brand story, and she's trying to piece this stuff together. Now she has the footage, but of course it's a cell phone, and the cell phone's locked. So now she has to figure out how to get the phone unlocked. She didn't know exactly who the phone belonged to. She just knew it was one of the perps. So,
guys, what do you know so far? So you know Renee has a cell phone from one of the guys who got killed at the local convenience store, right? So one of the cell phone, it had a thumbprint to unlock it. How do you think she got that phone unlocked, guys? So she's a cop. So she's cool with is it the coroner? Is that what they call it?
Yeah, because medical examiner.
Okay, she's cool with the ME, you know? So she pulled the string, got some favors, and she went in there with the two John Does at this point, you know? And so she opened up the first zipper. Used his thumb. Didn't work. Zipped it back up. Went to the other John Doe. Used his thumb. It worked. So now she got access to his phone, and remember the last thing he was doing before he got killed was recording. So she went to the video and seen what was going on, and once again, the same thing that happened at the cop squad car, the same thing that happened at the security camera, is the same thing that's happening on this phone. She can't report this in because she took evidence from a crime scene. So once again, she has to stew in all this. Like, she's the only one that can put this together. She's the only one that following these leads. That's what's sending her on these dangerous leads, because she can't let no one in.
Shout out to her though, because after she used that thumb to get in, she went in and she changed the
oh yeah, that was smart.
lock.
That was a detail that they normally just overlook. Like, they'll just unlock it and then you just assume that she checked the setting and took it off, you know. But this time they showed her. She was like,
in my mind, she was gonna cut the thumb off and take it with her.
So anyway, this was a good and bad thing, because she kept replaying this video over and over and over. It was driving me crazy, and I didn't even live there.
Can you imagine her husband?
He was patient. He was patient. She was going through a lot, and he knew that that's something that she had to work out on her own. You know, so that's strong in a husband right there, because you want to help your significant other. You want to be there for them. You want to protect them. But some things they just have to go through on their own. It's for them. It's for them.
And she worked it out. Like, in watching all this on repeat, she started noticing things. She noticed that, you know, there was a shadowy figure that couldn't be accounted for behind the person, the guy, when he was up in the air, you know, and it kind of disappeared quick. And so I feel like she knew she was dealing with something that was supernatural. Yeah,
this wasn't a human. Yeah. Because at this point, the cops, they still think it's a human that's doing these killings. Because it's hard for us as humans to think outside of our bubble, our reality bubble. So anything outside that bubble is fiction. It's not real. No, this have to be flesh, blood, man, woman walking around doing these heinous crimes. This wasn't it, Gina. This was not it. This was something a little supernatural that's going on. You know what I'm saying?
And that kind of leads to, like, the next piece. Like, so at this point now, Renee has pieced all this stuff together, and now her sole mission is to meet up with Tanisha.
Yep.
Like, at this point, I don't care what else happens. I need to talk to you. We need to figure this out. And so that's what she did. She starts backtracking and going to the van that Tanisha was in was reported stolen.
Right.
And it wasn't actually reported stolen. What the police did is they ran background on the van, and that led to a pastor of a church, and the pastor didn't necessarily say that somebody stole it.
Right.
He just said it disappeared from the lot overnight one night, and that was it. So Renee went to the church to talk to the pastor. The pastor, recognized that she was there trying to help. And so now he starts walking Renee through the church. And this is more so like a very community based. Like they have places for children to learn and to, families to be together. And so he walks her through this place and he starts talking about Tanisha's son. What was his name? DeMarco. He starts talking about DeMarco, and he starts talking about how much of an amazing kid he was. He was exceptional. He was well liked. He loved everybody. Everybody loved him. Not at all the type of description you would expect to hear from somebody who was gunned down in a gang initiation.
What was his handicap?
He was deaf. And that made it even more mind-blowing that, come on now, this dude wants to be in a gang and he's deaf.
Message, guys.
I'm not saying that it can't happen. If you a deaf thug, I'm not knocking you, but...
And they are good with sign language. Anyway, so to kind of because I know we dragging this on, but to kind of get to the meat and potatoes of it, we finally figured out what happened to Tanisha's son. We had an idea just off the premise and crooked cops and corruptions, young black teenage kid. That literally writes itself. That's happening. Yep. It happened yesterday, probably. Not to be funny. So we pretty much kind of figured how it was going, especially when you see the victims as they getting knocked off. We were like, wait, it's a chain. Mm-hmm. This blank, that blank, that blank. I'm like, baby, you picking this up? She like, mm-hmm. So, just like that. So, what happened was, DeMarco was walking home one night, rainy, dark.
By himself.
He was going through this industrial area.
Like a parking lot.
Yeah, you could tell he's used to being around there because it probably was a shortcut to his house. He probably walked this same path 1 billion times, guys. So, cops being cops. Now, this is the van part. I feel like is justified, being mysterious, but this part I don't justify. They seen this guy walking, apparently because I heard them yell. He fit the description.
Favorite line.
Oh God, I don't know what I heard more that irks me more. He fit the description, or I fear for my life. But I don't want to get on that right now. So anyway, he fits the description. So they're yelling at him to stop. Turn around, put your hands up. The normal stuff. He's deaf. He can't hear. So he keeps walking. They was like, stop, or we will shoot, and things like that. Which I don't know why they shot him, because he wasn't causing the threat. He was walking away. He wasn't walking towards them.
And it wasn't like he was running.
He was walking. He was just walking. It's raining. So he's cold. He's shivering. He's just walking with his backpack. And they shoot him.
From behind.
Bang. They shoot him from behind. He fall hard, instant, to the ground, into this puddle. It probably was a hole, so it probably was like concrete there. So he fell, chipped his tooth, his teeth fell out. Mm-hmm. Everything, So they run up on him. They were like, "Why didn't you stop? Why didn't you turn around?" and things like that. And he like, he can't talk.
And so at this point now they're like kind of panicking almost. They're trying to find something to place on this young man to be able to justify what just happened. And they can't. They can't find anything. They empty out his book bag. Everything. There's nothing inside his book bag but like schoolwork, There
was like, where's the gun? Where's the gun?
Nothing at all incriminating whatsoever. So now, at this point, you have 3 or 4 police officers, the rookie being included.
Yep. Message.
Renee's partner. And they're all standing around, and one of the older guys who was the one, I don't know if he was the one that shot or if he was just the one that was trying to cover it up, but he ended up taking a plastic bag and strangling the young man, because at this point he's not dead. But they can't let him survive
at all, and
so now they have to kill him. They strangle him. And I guess I'm assuming they didn't show this part, but given what the explanation was earlier in the story about how her son died, I'm assuming that they moved the body to a field to make it look like that's where it happened. And then you hear the police officers talking and, basically swearing each other to secrecy. And the footage, the body cam footage that I guess the rookie was carrying.
Yep.
He had it.
He had it the whole time. So I think he knew that Renee was onto something. The only thing that was working his way was Renee was going about this in some sketchy ways. So that was an easy cop out. There was an easy backing for him to say, hey, you might not want to go down this road. It's not right. It's not ethical and things like that. Morally, it's wrong and things like that. So that was kind of his playbook. But we don't know that he had the the blitz in his pocket, you know what I'm saying, of the playbook, because he was holding on to that information like crazy.
How did he end up revealing it?
She called the partner like, hey, I need you. We need to talk. I need your help with something. Can we meet up? He said, real, nervously, yeah, give me about an hour. You know what I'm saying? And he had this look on his face like, uh-oh. Or it was an indescribable look. It was worry. It was the end of the road look. It was the buck is over. It was like all these different looks into one. And that was one of the last time we seen him. And then it shoots back to Mary. And
Mary walks into his house an hour later. She hears the water running.
Yep.
But the door was open. So she pulls her gun at this point because now she's like, okay, there's something fishy going on. Where is he? He told me to be here in an hour. It looks like there might have been a home invasion. Even though everything's in place,
right, we
don't know where he is.
Where he is at all.
She turns out the water in the kitchen, and then she makes her way to the bathroom, and
there you go. He committed suicide because he had the footage of them killing that young black man, and he knew if that got out, everything's gonna be over. That was gonna cause a racial bomb in that little small town. And
not just that, but for him, because those police, they weren't gonna just, oh no, you let it out. Like, it wasn't going down like that. They were going to ruin his life. So at this point, I kind of feel sorry for him because now he's in this almost ethical situation. Like, do I give the footage over and tell what happened and ruin my own life? Or do I let this woman who is clearly struggling, who has been through so much, continue to try to piece this stuff together and possibly stumble across something? And I guess he couldn't take it.
So his conscience was killing him. And so he killed himself. And he left the flash drive on the sink in a sandwich Ziploc bag. And that's when Mary took it.
With a note that said, Renee, I apologize, or Renee, I'm sorry, or something like that.
Yep. And so she took it, got in the squad car, and put it into her laptop. And that's when she seen what really happened that night.
And then it all made sense.
It all made sense.
But Renee didn't know who all, so she knew, she could see who all was involved. But mind you, like Mook just said a few minutes ago, she had called for the sergeant and the sergeant didn't answer, but she left the sergeant a message. So now the sergeant, I guess he calls her back or whatever, so they decide to meet up because now she thinks, okay, I have this evidence against these police officers. The only person I can show it to is my sergeant because he's innocent, right? He's gonna do what's right. He's gonna bring justice.
We already had a feeling that he may have been crooked, but we didn't know to what extent. And when they met at that like a water plant, when they met at that water plant, he came, but he didn't come by himself. He came, he figured out what she wanted because I think he had an idea. He found out that she had the flash drive, so he pulled a gun on her, of course, and then the other car pulled up. It's the other cop that was there the same night that DeMarco got killed.
The one that strangled DeMarco,
right.
Well, suffocated.
Now, mind you, out of the 3 or 4 cops that was there, 2 or 3 of them have been killed already. Well, one of them killed himself, which was the rookie, and the other was killed at the convenience store, and then the first cop that was killed at the squad car that started off everything, he's dead. So only one left is the third cop that was there and the sergeant. The sergeant wasn't there the night that the little boy got killed, but he covered it up. He helped them cover it up, so he's just as guilty. So they take her into the water plant, and it's eerily similar to Black and Blue. They shoot Mary J. Blige in the chest, and it was just a warning round, basically. Like, hey, I know you just got saved by your vest, but the next one's gonna be in your head, So they was about to kill her because she knew too much. So they had to. Did they have the drive already?
No.
Okay, they didn't have the drive. So they was about to take Mary out, and guess who shows up? Ding, Tanisha. So wherever Tanisha goes, guess who's with her? Her son.
AKA DeMarco.
Yep.
AKA that shadowy figure.
D-Money.
AKA
D-Grips, you know what I mean?
You know what I'm saying?
So Tanisha shows up. I thought she was a ghost on the house. She just kind of pop up in the blinking of the light. It was like got black and then got bright, and she just showed up. I'm like, whoa, that wasn't natural. But nothing's natural at this point. So they knocked Tanisha out. I'm like, okay, she's still human. She fell kind of hard, so she's still human. So I'm like, okay, she cool. But I'm like, you just hit her. Her protector's somewhere close. And then the lights start flickering again. So he picked the sergeant up, throws him. You know, I thought he was like cutting through his body because he was like,
Yeah.
But I was like, maybe he's just picking up. So he throws the sergeant. I was like, well, he did. You won't see him again. He's just disappeared in the dark. And so that led to the cop.
Mm-hmm.
The cop starts shooting because humans always think we can kill everything with a gun. So he starts shooting. Starts shooting and he hit nothing.
At this point, Mary's like, I think if I'm not mistaken, she was knocked down. Renee was knocked down, and she saw the figure. It looked like it was coming towards her, DeMarco, and she was nervous, like panicked, because now, you know, at the end of the day, she's a police officer. Right. And if he's out here looking for revenge on police, he might not just stop at them. He might take it out on her too. Yep. But then Tanisha was like, you know, it's cool.
Like, she cool. She good
he
money.
Knows you and me.
Good money. Exactly. You forever protected.
Yeah.
You know
and so it ended with both of the ladies walking out, and all these police are around now, you know, obviously because they called for backup, and all these police are there, and the ambulance is there, and fire department's there, and everybody's there to try to help everyone. Yep. And Renee looks over, Tanisha looks over, and there's DeMarco.
This scene was so dope, guys. I was like, oh, that was a nice icing on the cake. That hit the spot. She a punk on the low, y'all. All she do is cry. Yeah, that scene was dope. That scene was hard, you know what I'm saying?
It showed both of the young boys standing together, kind of leaning against the police car, looking over like, y'all cool, right. I got you.
What I got from it is like, we can rest now.
Yeah.
We can rest. Because those was restless spirits, you know?
And I'm not really sure. It's almost, I struggled until just now. Walk with me here. So I struggled with how her son would have been associated with DeMarco.
I don't think they would. I think it was just two spirits at the end looking at their mom. That's what I really think it was.
I kind of feel like, and I do agree that that's kind of how it came together. I don't think that they were necessarily associated, you know, immediately or even in real life. But I think that, you know, I'm a firm believer that everything happens for a reason. And even in this situation, it's almost like DeMarco knew that this young man's mother, Renee, would be able to help him bring about justice for his situation. And so it was almost like, and might be a far-fetched stretch idea here, but to me that's what it seemed like. It seemed like they started working together so that they can bring about justice, and it all just kind of worked in their favor. And I thought it was dope.
Yeah, it was a real good movie. The horror part, I don't know, I'm real tough on that word. I can see where they get the horror element because it's this dark cloaked figure that comes in at night and snatches you up and you don't know what it is. And it was a big brolic figure too. This thing was big, you know, so yeah. I get that part. But I don't think it had a lot of scary scenes in it, quote unquote, you know, because it had a decent plot, you know, and the cheap jumps and thrills were just a good adding to it, in my opinion.
That's fair.
So with that being said, I give it a solid 8 out of 10. You know, that's because I'm just hard on the horror word. You know, it wasn't really horror. I give it mystery thriller. I give it supernatural more than horror. You know, they probably gave it horror because it was blood in it. That's fair. Supernatural really don't have a lot of blood. So that's why they didn't put it in supernatural. So I give it about an 8 out of 10. When we cracked it, about 20 minutes in it, we was on it. We were literally on it. You know. But yeah, I give it an 8 out of 10. It was a decent movie. It's definitely worth to check out, and I recommend it. What about you, Ashes?
I would actually give it a 9 out of 10.
Okay.
And
why is that?
I liked how so like I said at the beginning, I wasn't sure how they were going to tie all this together and make it interesting, but they did. And now the reason I wouldn't give it a 10 out of 10 is because it was predictable. And I don't, not to say that...
Yeah, predictable sounds rough.
Yeah.
I know what you mean, though.
It wasn't predictable in the sense of, oh, this is what, like...
Right.
All the movies that we always watch. But it was predictable for us in that we were kind of already hip to clues. Right. And so we were able to quickly put it together. And so I would have appreciated it if it wasn't quite as revealing, I guess, straight off the bat. Yeah. But it was only about an hour and a half, so I guess they didn't have much time. But right. But I would give it a 9 out of 10, and I would recommend that people watch it. I don't think that it's something that I would quickly go back to rewatch. But I liked it nonetheless.
Yeah. I'll watch it again if someone else haven't seen it. If I'm sitting in, or if they want to see it and they haven't seen it and they ask me if I recommend it, I'll watch it again because when you watch something more than once, you catch things that you didn't catch the first time. So we figured that out along the way. But I wouldn't watch it anytime soon. Since we're doing our reviews, I'm gonna do a segment, and it's called Mook's Corner.
Oh Lord!
And it's gonna be whether or not it whether I add it to the collection or not. We'll be going Mook's Corner, So that's what I'm gonna call it. So the next review, we're gonna decide whether the movie is worthy in the Mook Corner, the Mook collection, MCC, Mook Corner collection, Mook collection corner.
Well, let's talk about this a little bit more. What makes a movie worthy of going in your corner?
Repeat viewing.
Okay.
Soundtrack.
Okay.
How it looked in that 4K. How is it converted? Does it look good? I'm gonna get technical, guys. Like I'm an audiophile and I'm a videophile, so I can get real technical with this.
Okay.
So all that goes in it, acting, the plot, plot holes, and things like that. And if it's enjoyable, So I don't think it's hard criteria, but it's stuff that I stick with.
Okay. So would either of these movies go in your corner?
With Body Cam, it's like I've seen it before, if that makes sense. So I have other movies that's better that I got in my collection, so I don't have to have that in my collection, if that
like
makes
Black
sense.
And Blue?
Exactly. And then with Billie Holiday, it's like, I'm fine. I don't need it. One, hit it, quit it. You know what I'm saying? Sorry. I'm done. Go see both movies, guys.
We leaving.
See y'all later.